Alright, hello again. It is time to share a couple of more movies that I've bought in the recent months. And I'm just gonna jump straight in. So, I picked up The Passion of the Christ on Blu-ray. I used to own this on DVD a long time ago. I don't know, I'm not necessarily a religious person. I think it's just that I love Mel Gibson as a director. And I think this is a really powerful film. It's one of those films that I think almost everyone should see at some point in their life, like whether or not you're religious or not. Because it's interesting to think about the implications of this one story, this one narrative, how it's influenced the entire world across time and all civilizations and everyone, pretty much, almost everyone. And it's just, I think it's just a damn well-made film overall. Just a really damn well-made film. I love Mel Gibson's commitment to authenticity, at least insofar as committing to Latin and Aramaic, which are like dead languages. Nobody speaks them hardly, unless you're like a professor or something like that. But to commit to that, Latin and Aramaic really adds to the experience. Interpreting the Gospels and these classic religious images and moments his own way. And for me, this is like sort of like the ultimate religious depiction. I don't know why, but I've always been interested in religious imagery and religious films and themes and art and stuff like that. It doesn't come from a place of like genuine belief or genuine religion. It's more just a curiosity, because it's so ingrained into our culture, our art, our expression. I mean, we count our entire system of time is based on this. so it's highly ingrained into us as people, and it's very interesting to watch. It's sort of like the ultimate story of all stories, if that makes any sense. It's the ultimate good and evil, right and wrong morality tale. And yeah, I just love this film. It's exquisitely directed, really good. So actually, I did have a flirt with religion when I was younger, but it was like when I was a teenager, like maybe between ages of 12 and 15 or something like that. But I pretty quickly left the church and all that stuff. But yeah. Anyway, this is the 2-disc definitive edition. It's blue, as you can see. That's the major difference. No, but this is a 2-disc set. Comes with the movie on Blu-ray, and then there is a bonus disc on DVD with hours upon hours of bonus features. Really insightful making-of documentary. You've got, I think, 4 audio commentaries, really interesting and insightful. The film has a theological commentary with Mel Gibson and some priests or rabbis or whatever. And that is very interesting to listen to. It's incredibly fascinating. Like, I find that stuff endlessly fascinating, even if I don't subscribe to that newsletter, let's put it that way. I don't know, it's just interesting because it's just like the pillar of all art and culture and everything is just sort of this one story. And for better and for worse, definitely worse in a lot of cases, but I would also argue better, because we've got this whole, Western civilization thing is built upon the idea of sort of a moral pillar, if you think about it that way. These days, religion is almost highly taboo, because we think of ourselves as highly educated and intelligent, and we want to shun religion as, superstitious nonsense. But I think there will always be some value in religion, even if it's just analyzing religion as culture, stories, art, what have you. There's always something to be gained from it. And I particularly love watching movies about religion. I don't know why. Depictions of Jesus and possessed people and religious horror movies and documentaries and stuff like that. I don't know, just always fascinated me. So, great film. Mel Gibson hasn't made a ton of movies, but he's such a skilled director. You can always count on him to make great films. I don't know if he's ever directed a bad film in his entire career thus far. And right now he's actually working on a sequel to this, believe it or not, called The Resurrection of the Christ. They are actually prepping that movie right now, if sources are to be believed. So I'm actually really looking forward to that, to be honest. I just really love the tone and the style and just I don't know. If you're going to do a religious film, then I think this is the best way to possibly do it. It's also a very violent film, of course. It's gory, it's bloody, but that's part of the... I think the point of this film, as opposed to older religious films and depictions of Jesus and the Passion, was to sort of make it more visceral and sort of place the viewer in you know, his position, so to speak. And that's a very interesting, big no-no for some, but I think it absolutely works. So anyway, I've rambled on about the Passion of the Christ for a while now, but I think it's a great film. Others may disagree, but I think it's a great film. I think Mel Gibson is a fantastic filmmaker, and this is a very nice addition of the film as well. I wasn't going to buy this originally, but I think it was because I bought the live action version because Disney are doing their live action remakes now, which some people like, some people dislike. I like them, actually. I think it's actually interesting. It's an interesting approach on classic material. It's interesting to take something really classic and give it a new spin. So this has never been one of my favorites personally, but I did pick it up nevertheless. I figured, you know, what the hell. Everybody says they love it. It's a big deal for a lot of people. There's been a live action remake. I'm of course talking about Beauty and the Beast on Blu-ray. I finally picked it up. I've talked to several people who feel like this is their absolute favorite Disney classic, animated Disney classic of all time, and I was really surprised by that. I was like, Beauty and the Beast, really? Really? Like, I was expecting them to say maybe The Lion King, Aladdin, or honestly any other movie. Like, you know, you can go back to the 50s, you know, the 40s, any movie you want, but I was not expecting them to say Beauty and the Beast. Like, I think I've actually known at least 3 people in my life, or know 2 or 3 people who all think this is like the most sublime Disney film ever made. And I was like, really? Beauty and the Beast, really? Like, not that it's like, it's not horrible, this movie, in my opinion, but it's also not that special to me. It's never been that special to me. I don't know. I've never, maybe it's because I didn't grow up with this. I didn't see this in theaters. I would have been way too young at the time. I was about 3 years old when this came out or something like that. And I never owned it on VHS growing up either. So I never really had a special connection to the movie. So maybe that's why. Even when I watch it now, though, I don't think this is like, I don't know. It doesn't quite click with me. I don't know if it's the plot or the style or something. I think the animation style in this is very, how do I put this? It's the opposite of the style that I like. I like the sort of Sleeping Beauty sort of style, which is very rigid art, traditional, clean lines, and it's very, you know, it's all very structured, so to speak. This is very soft, and there are a lot of close-ups, and there are a lot of characters are very squishy. Like the Beast is very squishy when he moves and emotes and things like that. It doesn't quite look like a Disney movie to me. It almost looks like a direct-to-video movie at times. I know that's blasphemy for a lot of people, but it does for me. It's not my favorite. I mean, it's not a terrible movie. It's not like this is awful, but it doesn't do much for me, to be honest. But nevertheless, I wanted to own it. I wanted to have it in my collection. Nothing else I can compare it to the live action one. I can come back to it and watch it again whenever I become curious of the movie again. Might be good to have it in the collection. You never know. And it's nice to have a pretty definitive, you know, animated Disney collection. So they were on sale for, I think, $5 a piece, which is probably the lowest these have ever gone. I never expected them to be $5 a piece. I mean, back when they were brand new, they were going for $20, $30, something like that. I don't know, something crazy like that. But yeah, there have been many different releases of this on Blu-ray, by the way. There have been several different, like, key Blu-ray releases of Beauty and the Beast, and this is probably the most vanilla one. It's a single disc. There are just a few bonus features here and there. Probably the most interesting thing on this disc was the audio commentary. That's the one where you really get some information about the film. They really break it down and talk about stuff like... but even in the audio commentary, they were sort of like admitting mistakes and faults in the movie. They were like, here's an animation mistake, here's a mistake, here's a blooper. So I'm like, really? Like, you're gonna just reinforce what I think about this movie, that it's flawed? I don't know. But I really wanted to check out some making of documentaries, but I think those are only available on the previous sort of super deluxe editions, and I was not able to pick those up. But that's okay. I mean, this is not like I said, not my personal favorite at all. It's not even in the top 20, 30? I don't know. It's somewhere in the middle, I guess. Like it's there are plenty worse Disney movies than this, but it's just not one of those ones that I swear by. Sorry. I don't know. But yeah. I think there's this feeling that Belle is a very is some sort of feminist icon too. Like she's some sort of independent woman who doesn't need a man, and she's gonna travel and read books and stuff like that. And people like that about her, which I find so weird, because why would you... First off, why would that matter in a Disney movie at all? Secondly, aren't there much better quote-unquote feminist icons in Disney, like Mulan, for instance? Like, watch Mulan, seriously. That's like... if you want a movie about an independent woman who doesn't need a man and who can go toe-to-toe with other men, you should watch Mulan. And it's a much better movie too, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway, I'm not gonna rag on this movie anymore. It's fine. It's fine. I think I like the live action version a little bit more. That also has its flaws, but this is like fine. There are plenty of movies from the Disney Renaissance, the 90s, that I do enjoy a lot. If we're talking 80s, then I love The Little Mermaid. I think that's wonderful. Aladdin is just fine. I think, again, Mulan, fantastic movie, great movie. Hunchback of Notre Dame, or Notre Dame, Dame or Dame, whatever. Great movie too, really great underrated movie. The Lion King and Hercules, not so much, not quite for me, but yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's Beauty and the Beast. I've rambled on about this one too for a while, but classic animated Disney movie for sure. Okay, so you want to see something that I think is a real animated classic from the 90s, something I grew up with, and it's something I love that is animated from the early 90s. I bit the bullet on this one. I was not going to buy it originally, but I did. Of course I did. I'm of course talking about Batman, the animated series on Blu-ray. Yeah. Originally, I did not intend to buy this. I was just going to skip this one. I just thought, they're just milking it again. It's just another version of the same show that I already had on DVD, and all that stuff. And then I saw IGN, out of all places, IGN, the gaming channel, uploaded a comparison video where they compared the DVD to the Blu-ray, and it was crazy. Night and day difference. It was like a brand new show, and I was like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to buy this Blu-ray set because it looks amazing. They did a fantastic job remastering this for Blu-ray. It looks brand new. It's like you've never seen this show before in your life, basically. It's spectacular. So this comes in a variety of different editions. And what I have here is the US Standard Edition. The US has this standard set, and they also have a deluxe set, and the deluxe set comes with a couple of physical bonuses, including a couple of Funko Pops, and I think there's kind of some sort of art book or something like that. There's some elaborate box set, but the packaging for the discs in that set is really bad, because you've got the discs are housed inside the pages, in these digibook pages, and I hate that stuff. Hate that so much. So I opted for the standard edition, which actually comes with proper Blu-ray clamshells. Got your two, it's split up over two sets, two clamshells. Let me just, there you go. And you can't tell which part is which until you realize that part one has one character on it, Batman, and the other has two characters on it. Very odd way to number things. And you just pop that open and you got your discs there. And this is a great set because not only does this come with the complete animated series, the classic animated series, but you also have the new Batman Adventures, I want to say, which is sort of the sequel show to Batman the Animated Series, so to speak. It was kind of a loose reboot sequel show. It's got different animation, it's kind of a different animation style. And you've also got 3 movies in here. You've got Mask of the Phantasm, Batman and Mr. Freeze, Sub-Zero. No, it's just those 2. Sorry, 2 movies. So yeah. But yeah, this is a great set. It's region-free, by the way, so you can play this all over the world. I think all the US sets are region-free. Maybe all the sets all over the world are region-free. But yeah, pretty standard basic clamshells, nothing too exciting there, but trust me, the remastering job on this is just, it'll blow your mind. It looks absolutely marvelous. Check out Batman the Animated Series Blu-ray comparison. Just type that into YouTube and you'll find a bunch of videos and you can see for yourself. I think they did a splendid job on this. Of course, I've loved this show ever since I saw it, on TV when I was 4 years old, 5 years old, something like that. I was, in 1992, I would have been, 5 years old. So this was like, this and the Tim Burton film cemented my love of Batman forever. And Kevin Conroy is still one of the greatest actors to portray Batman ever, in my opinion. He's just fantastic. Some episodes of this are, in my opinion, probably some of the best things ever made in animation, at least in the West. Like episodes like Heart of Ice and Almost Got Him, and the one with the invisible, I've just, it slipped my mind, but the one with the father who's got this invisibility suit. I love that. Yeah. See No Evil? Is that what it's called? I don't know. Anyway, fantastic show, great set. And Batman was at the time, the Tim Burton movies and this show sort of proved that Batman could be darker and still work. And there's this beautiful balancing act in this show between being dark and serious with this noir, gritty sort of feel, but still appealing to both kids and adults, which I think they pulled off marvelously. I actually think this is probably too intense for some kids. Like when I was watching this as a kid, of course I loved the show. I couldn't get enough of it, but even I was acutely aware watching this as a kid that it was quite intense at times. Like there are, not like, like there's tons of gore and nudity and swearing or anything like that, but there are, some creepy scenes here and there and some, monster transformations that are pretty intense for what could basically be described as a kids show. But again, it's not just a kids show. It wasn't just intended for kids. You also get this booklet, miniature booklet with all the episodes, breaks down all the episodes, and you also have the bonus features listing. And this comes with a brand new documentary, which is called The Heart of Batman, I think, or maybe it's split up into different. Anyway, it's a very long. It's like a 90-minute documentary or something. It's really good. But yeah, just a really nice set. And Batman the Animated Series was really like defined Batman for an entire generation, and it also introduced some new characters, including this little dame right here, Harley Quinn. She was actually specifically written for the show of Batman the Animated Series, and it wasn't until later that she became, a favorite in the comic books as well. So pretty cool. And of course, Mark Hamill, Luke Skywalker himself, voices the Joker, and he does just an excellent job with it. In fact, when you're playing the newer video games, the Arkham video games, you've got those two voices again, Kevin Conroy as Batman and Mark Hamill as the Joker, which is just perfect. They're not in the style of the animated series, but you still get that feeling. It's sort of that nostalgic, sort of feels like a continuation of what you experienced as a kid. So really wonderful. Yeah, a really fantastic set. I've actually never seen the new Batman Adventures, which is kind of I call it the sequel show, so to speak, because it's a brand new animation style, and there are, I think, more characters, and there's more of an emphasis on the other characters like Robin, Nightwing, and Batgirl, I think. Again, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen a single episode of that show, which is kind of crazy because I love the animated series so much. But I always sort of saw it as the sort of, I don't know, the knockoff of the animated series. You know what I mean? I was like a purist. I was like, the animation is different and it's not the same thing. This is not the genuine animated series that I remember. So I was old enough to realize that the animation style was different and things had changed. I was just old enough to realize that, and I think I passed on that. Maybe I'd moved on to other things. Maybe it didn't air in Sweden or something. I don't know. But sometime soon, hopefully, I'm gonna sit down again and I'm gonna marathon the entire series, more or less. And this time I'm gonna include, I think, all of it. Honestly, I'm gonna watch the animated series. I'm gonna watch the new Batman Adventures, and I'm going to watch the 2 movies as well, again, I think. And Mask of the Phantasm is another one of those movies, strangely, that I think is just fine. Just fine. I think it's just fine. I don't think it's amazing. I don't think it's a masterpiece. I've seen so many movies and so many people proclaiming that Mask of the Phantasm is the best Batman movie ever made. It's like, really? Really? Mask of the Phantasm? Really? Like, I've seen like video essays where they break it down why it's the best. And I was like, I don't know about that. I don't know. I mean, it's good. It's like a good extended episode of the show for me. But it's not like the best. I actually think that some of the 20-minute episodes in the show itself are better than that movie. Like, I don't know. Maybe that's weird, but again, maybe it's because I didn't watch Mask of the Phantasm when I was young. I only came to it later, so maybe you had to sort of, I don't know. I could go on and on about this stuff, but basically I've only seen the animated series when it comes to the classic Batman. Of course, I've seen all the newer animated movies and all the newer movies and all that stuff. All of that stuff I've seen. But I've only seen the animated series. I've never seen the new Batman Adventures. I've never seen Batman Beyond is another show that I've never seen because I didn't really get on that train. I've got Justice League, however, I got that on Blu-ray and I did watch that. So, but that was sort of the end of the whole Timverse, which sort of started with the animated series. There's a very interesting YouTube channel about this if you want to get really, really super nerdy and super geeky about this particular animated universe, and it's called Watchtower Database. Check that out if you really want to, because all they do is sit around and like, what is canon in this universe? What is, what connects to what? Like they super hyper focus. It's a bunch of guys and they really focus in on just this particular animated universe, which is kind of odd and interesting, fascinating, but yeah. Anyway, I'm not gonna rant about that anymore. Really great set, like I said, region free. You can play it all over the world, and comes with basically all the classic Batman stuff except Batman Beyond. I guess you'd have to get that separately. I don't think that's out on Blu-ray. Might be on DVD if you're lucky, but yeah. But I think it's on iTunes in certain countries, so. I forgot to mention this actual box. The actual box itself is a little bit thin and flimsy. It's like, it's kind of a wobbly sort of paper thing. But other than that, and some very bland artwork in my opinion, other than that, the actual show itself is fantastic and beautifully remastered. So probably gonna wait until, I don't know, fall, or I think fall, yeah, probably around fall. If I've got the time, I'm gonna start watching this again because it's such a perfect fall type show, fall or winter when it's dark outside and the wind is howling around. You shouldn't watch this show like in the middle of summer. Like, come on, that's just blasphemy. All right, picked up a couple of more movies, and these just arrived recently, and these are all actually 4K editions. They come with 4K and Blu-rays. I actually don't own a 4K television yet. I'm hoping to get one day, but I'm also hoping to move out of here. So I don't think it would make sense to invest in a big 4K television and then drag that along to a new apartment. So it wouldn't make sense. So I'm hoping to move out of here soon, and then I can start saving up and invest in a new TV. But anyway, couldn't resist, and I picked up the Studio Canal trilogy of Rambo on 4K and Blu-ray. Got Rambo First Blood, of course. These got really cool artwork on them, by the way. I'm gonna see if I can find the artwork and I'll put it up so you can see it. So we got First Blood, Rambo First Blood Part 2, of course, and Rambo 3. Now, it's just a classic trilogy. There's no John Rambo or anything like that. It's just the classic 80s movies here. So, I've got a lot to say about this. First of all, I love Rambo. Absolutely love these movies. I love Sylvester Stallone, and these movies are wonderful. First Blood is the most serious out of the movies. It's meant to be a very serious film. It's about the way that Vietnam War veterans were treated when they came back from the war, which is often pretty despicable in certain ways. And he's this broken Vietnam veteran, walks into this small town, and for no apparent reason, the local sheriff starts to hassle him, starts to trouble him, and they mess with the wrong man because John Rambo is the deadliest, the deadliest, most badass Vietnam veteran the world has ever seen. And of course, he starts to wage war against the sheriff and this small town, and they have to sort of bring in Trotman to see if they can pull him back from the edge. I mean, everybody knows First Blood, come on. I've got the Rambo trilogy set already, which I think is also from Studio Canal, the old editions. But when I saw these 4K editions, I was really curious about the transfers. And I'm disappointed again. Because let me tell you, these have been cyanified, again, quote unquote cyanified. The old versions, sure, they didn't have as much, they weren't as sharp and as detailed, and didn't have as much resolution. They weren't based on a 4K scan. Of course, these are a lot more detailed, they have a lot more going for them. But look at the colors. Look at that. It's just, that doesn't look good to me. It's cyan again. It's like that fucking weird cyan filter, the thing I hate, the thing I've been actively trying to like correct in a lot of movies. So I've actually already started tinkering with this movie in Premiere Pro. So this is the Blu-ray itself. This is what the actual Blu-ray looks like. Then I added some basic color correction, and then I tweaked it a little bit more by adding some orange to the shadows. Just the shadows, just a hint of orange to the shadows, and then it looks like this. Now keep in mind, if you're watching this on YouTube, it might look kind of extreme, might look oversaturated, might look kind of wonky. But trust me, when you watch this on a decent 1440p computer screen, it looks a lot better. It looks a lot more nuanced, a lot more natural to my eyes. I don't know what you guys think, but yeah. But that's not the only strange thing about these movies on Blu-ray. The subtitles are really weird. The subtitles are really, really, really strange for this. They are not verbatim at all. It's kind of like they've watched the movie, but then they've sort of interpreted what was said, or ran it through Google Translate once or twice or something, because they are not subtitling what's being said. It's an approximation of what's being said. Like in that scene where Rambo is, walking into town and the sheriff comes along in his car. I think he says, "I'll make sure you head in the right direction," and it's subtitled with "Jump in, I'll get you to the right place," or something like that. It's very, very bizarre. And that's throughout the entire movie. Maybe it's based on the script or some, I don't know. There's some weird, I don't know why. Maybe they wanted to sort of remove the slang, or I don't know what's going on here, but it's very odd. It's really, really odd to watch a movie with subtitles and they don't correspond exactly to what's being said. It's like a loose interpretation of what's being said. It's really strange. There's a scene where they drag him into the sheriff's office, and one of the lines there is like, "Hey, what a sorry excuse for humanity," or something like that. And in the subtitles, it says something like, "Apropos scum of the earth." Like, what the hell? that is not like, it may have the same overall meaning, but that is not even close to what's being said in the movie. It's so bizarre. It's the strangest subtitle job I've ever seen, I think. So I don't know. This edition, I mean, it's sharper, sure. It's much sharper, and that's nice in its own way. But there are plenty of things they could have done much better with this, I think. So I don't know. Was it worth it? At least these were on sale. I got 2 for £30 or something like that. So, if you're going to import these from a Swedish website, then you'd have to pay at least £30 for every single movie. And that's just, nope, not going to happen. So anyway, the covers themselves are really nice. I really like these. And these are my first ever actual standard edition 4K releases that I've ever bought. The first one I bought was actually Suspiria, the Cult Films edition. That's a steelbook. And then I bought the John Carpenter Studio Canal editions. They were also steelbooks. This is the first actual legitimate regular 4K edition I've ever bought, and they're really nice. They've got this, I mean, these have slip covers, of course, really nice slip covers. This brand new 4K restoration, as it says there, is a sticker that you can remove if you want to. Sadly, these ratings, logos are not stickers. I wish those were. But I love that the case itself is actually just plain black. Just plain black all the way through. It's not translucent like Blu-ray or anything. It's just plain, regular, thick black all the way through. I don't know if that's, better for the environment in these very, we live in very environmentally conscious times now, and especially plastic is very taboo right now. We're seeing a lot of plastic being phased out of, straws in restaurants and all manner of things. So I don't know if this is the most environmentally friendly option, but it looks really cool. I really like the way it looks. So hope they can stick with these cool plastic cases in the future. Anyway, Rambo First Blood, great film. I think it deserved better on Blu-ray or in 4K, to be honest. I mean, it's much sharper, sure, and maybe you won't mind that it looks a little bit strange and cold and cyanish. Maybe, you won't care as much. But I care. I know this movie. I've seen this movie many times, and it's not supposed to look like that. As always, I don't know how the hell this keeps happening. But yeah, it's still a great film. This is the most serious out of the films. This is the one people probably should see if they only see one of them. So, First Blood, great film. And then we come to what is probably my favorite, First Blood Part 2. First Blood Part 2 is the most 80s out of all of them, in my opinion. It is so incredibly, wonderfully, brutally over the top, this movie. This is pure 80s excess. This is what Rocky 4 was to the Rocky series. Rambo First Blood Part 2 is to the Rambo series. It is just pure, American flag-waving, oily, muscle sweating, grubby, pencil-pushing Reaganomics wonderfulness from start to finish. It's almost a masterpiece of, action excess in that decade. I love this movie so much. It is so ridiculously, wonderfully over the top in every regard. And I think a big part of that was the fact that this was written by Sylvester Stallone and James Cameron. That's right. That's something you don't hear every day. That's quite a pairing. If you're going to write an 80s movie, get Sylvester Stallone and James Cameron to write your script. And this is the movie you get. In this one, of course, he's sent back to Vietnam, out of all places, to rescue some POWs. Well, they at first they say just take photos. You're not supposed to intervene in any way. Of course, he ends up getting kidnapped himself, and he's, they ditch him in the jungle. They deny all accountability and all that stuff, and shit hits the fan. And of course, he starts fucking mowing people down and shooting them with explosive crossbow tips and all that stuff. It's just, I don't know. This entire movie is and of course, he's fighting the Russians, and it's just oh man, this movie is, to put it bluntly, this movie is everything that is right and everything that is wrong with America at the same time, pulled up to 11. It's so wonderful. I get goosebumps thinking about this movie. I mean, count the amount of explosions in this movie, and just you're gonna have a coma or something. I love it. It's so wonderful. Same exact thing here. I think this looks odd, to say the least. The colors are off again, and probably going to tweak this one too. I'm probably going to tweak all three, honestly. I'm going to run the Blu-ray files in Premiere Pro, and I'm going to make my own remastering sort of color correction the way I want it to look, and I'm probably going to be pretty meticulous about this. So one thing I've noticed, which may account for why they look so odd, is the fact that I think these were shot on some very weird film stock or something like that, or I don't know what kind of cameras they used or film stock they used, but they tend to skew more towards orange, I think, orange-ish So they are not perfectly natural looking films. They don't skew towards more healthy, pinkish sort of hues. They are slightly different. I especially noticed that I was just tweaking this for fun last night in Premiere Pro, just playing with it. I just wanted to see what I could do and what it looked like. And the scenes where there are explosions in this movie, like the scene where he dives off a boat that explodes, was almost completely orange. Everything was almost completely orange. Even after I had sort of removed the sort of cyanish filter. So maybe something went awfully wrong in this movie, or maybe they were filmed in a very particular way, which makes it more difficult to, get it exactly right. So I think this is actually going to take some work to get this to look decent all the way through. And it's probably not going to look the way the old Blu-rays looked either, because they looked rather plain. They looked they had sort of a sepia tone going for them almost. It was very sort of brownish, muddy sort of tone. So I think we can do better than that. But I'm going to have to go through the entire movie, scene by scene, shot by shot, and really try to hone it in and nail it in. But it's going to be an interesting challenge. And I may make a video about that too, if I can. So anyway, just a wonderful 80s movie, totally over the top, totally... This is like 80s action, I don't know, extravaganza, deliciousness, popcorn deliciousness. This is like an American flag screaming in your face for 2 hours, and I love it so much. It's great. And the third one, of course, just called Rambo 3. By the way, these movies have strange titles, especially the first one, because you will notice on this cover it says Rambo First Blood, right? The movie is technically only called First Blood. I guess this is to, clear it up for people so they know that this is part of the Rambo series, right? Or maybe it's called Rambo First Blood in the UK. In Sweden, we used to only call this movie Rambo or Rambo 1, right? But there's a problem there because the fourth film, which is called John Rambo in America, is also just called Rambo in Sweden, I think, and in other countries. So there's this whole, mess of names and titles and things. So it's supposed to be First Blood, that's the first movie. Then you have Rambo First Blood Part 2, which is, again, a wonderful title, First Blood Part 2. Think about that for a second. It's the First Blood, but it's the second part of the First Blood. Anyway, and then you have Rambo 3, simply titled Rambo 3, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, this is how they should have. But I think this is how that's what people call them anyway. Just, this is Rambo 1, that's Rambo 2, that's Rambo 3, that's Rambo 4, and we're getting Rambo 5 soon. So just use the numbers, I don't know, or First Blood and then Rambo 2, Rambo 3, whatever. It's like, whatever. Does it really matter? I don't know. Maybe I'm just making a big deal out of this. But also, if you check these out on iTunes in Sweden, you get the names Krigaren, which means the warrior. So the warrior 1, the warrior 2, the warrior 3. Really just, I don't know. They have like a dozen names. Anyway, Rambo 3, not the best one, to be honest. This is probably the worst of the bunch. I think it's sort of like Part 2 again, but it's worse. I mean, it's a perfectly watchable movie. It's a lot of fun to watch too. It's got that 80s overblown craziness going on. Again, count the explosions in this movie. I was watching this with my sister and we started counting the explosions, and I think we stopped when we got to 100 and we were only about halfway through the movie or something like that. It's just crazy. This movie hasn't aged as well either, because in this one, John Rambo goes to Afghanistan to rescue Colonel Troutman, of course. And he collaborates with the Afghani people. And the movie ends with a little, credit crawl or little message that says this movie is dedicated to the brave people of Afghanistan or something like that. Because at the time, they were, of course, engaged in a war with the Soviet Union, with Russia. And yeah, so America comes to their aid and provides them with weapons, and we all know how that ultimately went down. So anyway, not going to discuss war or politics here. It's just a movie. It's just an 80s movie. I mean, come on. Fun movie, not the best one. I think all the other ones are, I mean, 2 and 3 go together. They're kind of like Rocky 3 and Rocky 4 in that regard. They're both overblown, crazy 80s action movies. You can just turn your brain off and watch them and have fun. My favorite movie in Rambo 3 is, of course, at the very end when Rambo and Colonel Troutman are trapped in the desert and they are surrounded by the Soviet army, and they've got tanks and they've got fucking guns and they've got, you know, helicopters and shit, and there's just 2 men just standing there and they're surrounded by an army. And Troutman looks at John Rambo and says, "What do you say, John?" And he looks at him and he goes, "Fuck 'em." Fuck 'em. That's right. Fuck 'em. That's the... And they just charge at this army and they survive somehow. I love that attitude. This is just like, that's Rambo 3 in a nutshell. Fuck 'em. Love it. It's so 80s. It's so overblown. It's so wonderful. It's so great. And I love, by the way, how different Rambo is from Rocky. It's the 2 world famous Sylvester Stallone characters, the 2 characters he's best known for playing and will probably almost always be best known for playing, and they are vastly different. Rocky is this humble, down-to-earth, sort of real guy, a little groggy, a little, you know, punchy, so to speak. Rambo is this fucking killing machine who's, you know, spits out, you know, eats Soviet soldiers for breakfast and spits out the American flag, you know. It's like, it's a very interesting dichotomy, I think. But yeah. Anyway, gotta love the Rambo movies. Gotta love all of them, really. I love all 4. To some extent, I love all 4. And the trailer for Rambo 5, Last Blood, really cool title. I like that, Last Blood. That's great. It's looking pretty good. There's a teaser trailer out now, and it's actually looking okay. Like, it could be pretty decent. I was a little bit nervous because I think they wrapped everything up so well with 4. I think Stallone sort of wrapped up the story of Rambo so well with Rambo 4. So I really would not be surprised if he ends up being killed in Rambo 5, because that would really be he's probably going to be like, he's going to pass the torch onto some youngling. He's going to pass the torch onto some other younger character, and he's probably going to get killed. I'll bet money on it right now. 4K, these 4K editions, I don't know. Like, my advice, go online, go on blu-ray.com, go on YouTube. There's a really great channel that compares the old Blu-rays to the new 4K editions. You can actually see the screenshots, shot for shot, moment for moment. Go check those out first. Really, like, dig into what you're seeing and analyze it. If it looks all right to you, then you might want to buy these. But I don't know. I'm glad to have them, and I'm probably gonna keep them around just in case, but I would probably tinker with the transfers myself and end up mostly watching the tinkered versions. But I forgot to mention one thing that is awesome about this is that, of course, they include all the bonus features from the previous editions, so they are really stacked with tons of stuff, just tons and tons of stuff. So that's really great. But I think the reason I was looking forward to these and why I pulled the trigger on these without even checking the transfers or anything was because Studio Canal did such a phenomenal job with the John Carpenter movies. They did such an excellent job with those because they were not tampered with in any major way at all. They just scanned them in 4K, restored them beautifully. They look exactly the way I remember them looking. They look wonderful. They look great. They haven't messed with the colors or anything like that. They're, without a question, some of the most definitive John Carpenter editions you can ever buy. And that was from Studio Canal too. So I was like, they're going to do the same thing with Rambo. It's going to be great. It's going to look fantastic. And then you see the results and it's this cyanish filtering bullshit again. So Anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for this video. I've rambled on long enough. Thanks for watching, but yeah, let's just run through it again. We had, of course, the Rambo trilogy on 4K and Blu-ray from Studio Canal, which is a British distribution company, I should mention. And then we had Batman the Complete Animated Series on Blu-ray. This is the American Standard Edition. And please do some sleuthing before you buy any version of this show, because there are so many different varieties of editions and packaging. You know, the packaging is different and the digital copies aren't great, and like, please read up and compare all the different editions. I think this is a really nice set. I don't really care about the digital copies at all. In fact, I gave away the digital copy to some guy on Instagram who wanted it. I was like, yeah, sure. But yeah, overall a really nice set. I mean, it has a couple of flaws, but the stuff that matters is the episodes on the discs, and they look sublime. So, Beauty and the Beast, or Skönheten och Odjuret, as we say in Sweden. Not my all-time favorite Disney classic, but it's nice to have it in the collection. You know, if I want to watch this, I feel better popping it in than, like, I don't know, renting it or downloading it or like something like that. It's just cool to like have it in the Disney collection. Just pop it in and watch it if I want to. And of course, The Passion of the Christ, this classic, maybe it is a classic, I don't know. This very well-made Mel Gibson movie that I want to say raises a lot of questions. Does it raise a lot of questions? I don't know. It's a very thoughtful, very beautifully made film. And if you're not a religious person per se, I still think it's interesting to watch it just from a, let's say, historical and cultural perspective and an artistic perspective. Let's put it that way. It's maybe not a religious epiphany. Maybe you don't even subscribe to this at all, but you still have to sort of contend with it. You still have to sort of maybe not look at it as a literal thing, but maybe you can look at it as an artistic thing, a cultural thing, religion as a form of cultural expression, cultural heritage. I don't know. I don't know where I'm getting at with this, but yeah, Passion of the Christ, nevertheless. Love the film, even if I'm not a religious person. So. All right, that's it for this video. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you in the future. And hopefully I will be able to do some color restoration and stuff. There are a couple of movies that I've actually been tinkering with a little bit, and I would love to share my results of those. And maybe also do a deep dive on at least one of the Rambo movies and see what we can do with those. So maybe I'll just start tinkering on my own, and when I get a result I like, then I might sort of backtrack and shoot a video and show you how I came up with the results. So anyway, that's it for this video. Hope you enjoy this one, and I'll catch you in the future. Have a great summer.